to carry out visual inspections on appliances that you have not worked on. When you're finished working on an appliance, then before you leave the premises, you must ensure that all appliances on the premises get a visual risk assessment. Now this means that it's your responsibility when you walk out the door to make sure all the gas appliances on the premises are safe. So your responsibilities as a gas engineer are as follows. When gas engineers carry out a visual risk assessment of a gas appliance, they have a minimum responsibility. So what I'm going to explain to you in this video is the minimum that you must do before you leave a premises. So you have a minimum responsibility to ensure that the appliance, not the appliance you're working on, but any other appliance on the premises, does not constitute a danger. And we do this by means of visual inspection. So there's two types of assessment. There's ones where there is no interruption of the gas supply, and there's ones where the gas supply has been interrupted. So let's look at the no interruption. When the gas supply has not been interrupted and where no gas work has been carried out on that appliance, for example, when carrying out a service of a boiler and there's a gas cooker in the same room, then a visual inspection of the gas cooker should be carried out. There are 5 actions to carry out in this scenario. Now, where the gas supply has been interrupted, this is everything is as before, but this is used when the gas supply has been cut off or interrupted during the course of your work. For example, if you're installing a new appliance, you've obviously got to turn the gas off, or if you're replacing a gas meter, and this also applies where a tightness test has been carried out. And there are 6 actions to that scenario. Now the first things first is always ask the householder if the appliance has been working correctly. They can give you clues and little hints that you may have to investigate further, but it's a nice little shortcut to say, look, is everything working as you expect it to work? If they say no, I've got such and such a problem, you can investigate that as part of your visual examination, but always ask the householder first. Now, when it comes to no interruption to the gas supply and the actions you must carry out, as I said, there are 5 of them. You've got to check the location, the fluing, the ventilation. You've got to check the appliance for any signs of distress, and you've got to check it for security and stability. But remember, you don't have to do flue flow tests or anything like that. These are visual inspections. And the easiest way to remember these is just ask yourself 5 questions. So the first one on location is, ask yourself, is the appliance installed in a suitable room? You know there are restrictions on placing gas appliances, open fluid appliances in certain rooms. Just make sure it's in the correct location. Flueless appliances, remember to check the size of the room. Is the flue suitable and capable of safely removing the products of combustion? Is it the right flue? Is it complete? Has it got any signs of distress? We'll move on to that one. But is it capable of safely removing products of combustion. Then look at ventilation. Is there adequate ventilation to allow the appliance to operate safely? For example, is there evidence of purpose-provided ventilation if it's required for that appliance? Then you look for signs of distress. Are there any signs of soot, discoloration, heat damage, or any surfaces round the appliance that are touching the appliance or near the appliance suffering with any heat damage or anything like that? And then finally, you've got to make sure that the appliance is stable and secure. Obviously, if it's attached to the wall, you're going to check the wall fittings, just make sure it's there. If it's a freestanding cooker, you're going to have to make sure that it's got the correct chain on the back or stabilizers on the bottom, and make sure that everything's safe before you walk out and walk off the premises. Now we move on to the situation where the gas supply has been interrupted. And for this situation, there's one extra check you must make. So everything is as before. You've got the location, the fluing, the ventilation, the signs of distress, and the security and stability of the appliance. But because you've interrupted the gas flow, the gas supply, you must turn the appliance on and check the flame picture. You should all know by now the correct flame picture for different appliances, and that's the only difference between the gas supply not having been interrupted and one that's been interrupted. So here we go. All the questions you ask yourself are exactly the same, except you ask yourself one extra question: is the flame picture correct for the appliance? Now, there's no specific requirement to record the results of your visual examinations, but engineers are advised to positively record that a visual risk assessment has been undertaken. I have investigated quite a few carbon monoxide deaths, and when you go to the last gas engineer to service any of the appliances, this is one of the questions that gets asked. And obviously it's better to have written down and said, yes, I carried out a visual risk assessment, here's the record of it, than to stand there saying, yeah, I did it, but I didn't write it down anywhere. So my advice would always be just to write down visual risk assessment carried out, and that way you're covering yourself in case somebody comes in after you, or the householder themselves, this is not unknown. If they muck about with the appliance and something untoward happens, you as the last gas engineer will get questioned, and if you can say this, it'll be to your benefit. Now, if as a result of your assessment you identify an unsafe situation, at risk or immediately dangerous, then you must implement the GIUSP and take any appropriate action. You've got to dispense the relevant warning notices, and you've got to attach the relevant labels as if you had been working on the appliance yourself. So you don't walk away from an unsafe situation, you carry out the actions required.